What's up, guys, and welcome to a special Black Friday edition of Gamescript. We're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Chicago Bears, and coming off a massive Thanksgiving where all the answers to the test were given away either on the show or on sportnuggets.com, and I'm going to get into it right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports on location, recording for Black Friday. This Black Friday game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears. I'm at a house, so if my volume sounds pretty low, it's because I'm trying not to wake up a bunch of kids on Black Friday out west. So make sure to hit that like button, get me to 70 likes so we put my favorite plays in sportnuggets.com like I did yesterday. Massive day yesterday. I'll get into that in a second. And then make sure to subscribe to the channel. Looking for 2,300 subscribers. Only need about 50 left to get there. And make sure to go subscribe and open an account at sportnuggets.com. It's a free beta preview. All the insights that I added yesterday ended up hitting. And I ended up hitting first place in one of the showdowns, and I'll share that, guys, with you here. The total on today's game is a 44.5 point total with Philly as 7-point favorites. They're playing in Philadelphia, I believe. And share my screen real quick. All right, so you can kind of see most of my lineups cashed yesterday. Built a lot of those on the show. And the biggest one was this showdown for the first game of the show. You can see it came in first place in that one. That was good for 8,800. I had a tie with about 14 plus winners. So hopefully some of those were you guys, based on what I talked about on the show yesterday. And went with Captain Jameson Williams. I really like Jameson Williams. Went over him on the show. I did an insight with him on Sport Nuggets. I'll show you guys that in a minute. Did Jared Goff, obviously, Jordan Love. So I went double QB in this one. I had a feeling it could shoot out. I went with Christian Watson. I was very high on him on the show. We were building captain lineups with him. I liked David Montgomery and late breaking news. This was all over Sport Nuggets. Dontavian Wicks, when Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed were both ruled out, I was very high on Dontavian Wicks. There was a weakness in the Detroit slot versus slot receivers on their defense, and that made me like Wicks a lot because Wicks has been running a decent portion of his routes from the slot. And then on top of that, his snap count goes way up when those guys are missing. And that was setting him up to get a decent amount of targets yesterday. And you can remember it. Like, I don't know if you guys remember a few days ago or a few weeks ago, they had a game. Wicks was being targeted pretty frequently, but they weren't connecting that well, or he didn't end up having a big game. But I kept that in mind, and those are the types of things that I keep in mind when I'm doing these. One of the ways that I do that is I very deep into looking at sources and looking at breaking news on stuff. And that's part of the reason why I created this site, sportnuggets.com. You can kind of see here, it updates very frequently. We had our last update about 23 minutes ago. You're kind of seeing, some news trickle in. Dallas Goedert, here's one for today. Expected to have a strong performance against a banged up Chicago defense. Now, this is huge. There is a massive injury concern for Chicago's defense today. Basically, their entire starting linebacker line is out, and that's going to set up Dallas Goedert to have a very nice game against a defense that's already pretty weak against tight ends. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. I'm going to show you guys first, like when I tell you guys to come to Sport Nuggets and look at the insights, I'm going to filter it by all of yesterday's games. So we had the Bengals versus the Ravens yesterday. We had the Chiefs versus the Cowboys, and then we had the Lions versus the Packers yesterday. So I filtered all those teams. That's going to give me all the news for these teams, which is what I did yesterday, just to kind of scan through and get those updates. And that's how I knew about that Dontavian Wicks situation, because I saw that, those guys had both been ruled out. I did a little bit of digging, and I went through a lot of the older Nuggets just to kind of see news that was open for Dontavian Wicks, and I found a good amount of information out on him, and that's where I got excited about the play. All that news broke after I recorded the show, so I don't think I mentioned Dontavian Wicks on the show. That's why I say it's important to subscribe over here on sportnuggets.com, free beta preview. If you sort by insights, you can see all the insights that I wrote yesterday. Jameson Williams aligns with my thinking on Detroit passing situation. He should be even busier with no Sam Laporta and other receiving options, including Khalif Raymond and even backup tight end Brock Wright set to miss the game. Fire him up in Showdown. And on top of that, he ended up, Amon-Ra St. Brown ended up getting hurt in that game too right away. So this guy was a freaking maniac yesterday, and he ended up with 29 DraftKings points, even better in the captain. It was definitely a sweat because I only won by 1 point that first place finish. I was high on Xavier Worthy as well. I marked this Kyle Hamilton one because I liked Gesicki. Those two guys I was wrong on, but I had Keaton Mitchell in there. Justice Hill was ruled out on Thanksgiving. I talked about that on the show. Mitchell ended up going off. He ended up getting 11, 12 points. He scored a touchdown. So I had Joe Burrow has some big games versus the Ravens, which he did yesterday, and makes his return today, setting the stage for potential Bengals game scripts where Mitchell could find his way into optimal lineups. I don't think he got in the optimal, but he scored 12 points for $4,500, so he could have easily, in the showdown lineups, been significant. And I think you did need him and Isaiah Likely maybe to get first place in that showdown. Derrick Henry, another one that I wrote up. I mean, you don't need me to tell you to start Derrick Henry versus the Bengals. Burrow, I wrote up. He was important for showdown. I wrote up Dontavian Wicks. This is one of the important ones. Second highest rate in the league versus man coverage is his target share. And 40% of his routes in the slot. So Wicks was a good salary saver in DFS contest today versus the Lions weak slot D. He will be even better if we get news that Matthew Golden is out. And then I did an update when that news came out saying update with Golden ruled out. I like Wicks in showdown and main slate contests. And Wicks ended up paying off big time, scoring 28 DraftKings points. So I liked Kelsey yesterday too. So a lot of the guys that I wrote up ended up hitting. Lamb I was very high on the show, and Watson and Tesla. All these dudes hit for touchdowns yesterday. Amon-Ra I faded. I wrote about a fade here with my insight. I said you're not benching him in fantasy, but you will keep expectations in check for DFS, where he's projected to be the second highest receiver on the Thanksgiving slate. So on the show, I talked about fading him as well. Isaiah Likely, another guy. For Isaiah Likely, I wrote, while I'd like to see Likely lower than 22% ownership, that was on the main slate, his price in this matchup is tough to ignore, and I like using him as a salary-saving option to jam in the studs. I think that he and Andrews could find their way into optimal lineups on Thanksgiving. Likely went off. Andrews did not. but I didn't do an individual one for Andrews. Hopkins didn't do too much. So some of these guys missed, but for the most part, I gave you guys all the answers to the test in the insights yesterday on Sport Nuggets. So let's try to do that again. Like I said, I'm going to clear this out for today. What you're going to do is you're going to go over here. You're going to click on the Eagles versus the Bears. And close to lock, I'm going to add some insights. And you can go here and just go sort by insights. And you'll see I've already written up a couple guys. So you can go in there and kind of see, what's happening over on Sport Nuggets. And you can see what I wrote about these guys. So let's go back over to DraftKings. We'll go into the lobby. We'll go into Black Friday Showdown. That's happening in a little while. So I'm trying to scramble to get this show recorded. All right, guys. First, let's take a look at the injury report for these teams. We'll get an idea of what we need to keep an eye out on the Sport Nuggets page. Going to go to the Bears first because that's where a lot of significant injuries are. We got the left guard, Newman on IR. The most important injuries are down here in the defense. We're missing Dominic Robinson, right defensive end. We got Ruben Hypolite out for the linebackers, starting linebacker. TJ Edwards, Noah Sewell. Jalen Johnson is questionable. He's expected to return today, but I don't know how effective he's going to be returning from injury. And on the opposite side of the cornerbacks, we got Tyreek Stevenson out. Kyler Gordon is on IR. Terrell Smith is on IR. People are expecting Kyler Gordon to potentially be back today. That's I think they're starting nickelback. So hopefully he's out. So we got Devontae Smith on that CJ Gardner-Johnson matchup. Man coverage for the defense there in Chicago. They run it at 7th highest rate. So if they get their secondary back, they could run it even higher. That's good for AJ Brown. But those missing guys are just going to be massive for some of these picks I'll get into in a minute. Over on the Eagles depth chart, we're missing fullback. Lane Johnson out is a big one for the running game, I believe, especially. He's got some lip fracture in his foot, so he's going to be out for a while. The run game was already ineffective. We got Marcus Epps, I can't remember if Lane Johnson was the one who came out of retirement or if that's Dickerson. I get my offensive line mixed up. Marcus Epps on IR, so they're relatively healthy on the defense, but significant situations here developing, and I'm going to go ahead and analyze this DraftKings breakdown. But first, let me give you a little tutorial here. I'm going to play this video real quick, and then I'll get into it.
The most advanced sports news and nugget aggregator has arrived. SportNuggets.com is here to help you dominate with unbeatable intel, fantasy, daily fantasy, betting, or flooding the zone with news and nuggets to crush your competition. Our cutting-edge AI delivers instant analysis on player nuggets from the most trusted sources, articles, podcasts, videos. We leave no stone unturned. We mine every word for nuggets on every player, stars, backups, even practice squad sleepers. Our smart filtering lets you cut through the deluge and zero in on specific players, teams, games, or positions. Sort by trending or injury nuggets to find leads to uncover hidden gems. Premium access to expert breakdowns, gaming tips, and analysis that turn nuggets into wins. And if we miss a nugget, our members can jump in to fill the gap. The most commented, liked, or favorited submissions get a boost in our engagement rankings, helping fellow prospectors discover the real gold. Mine the edge. Dominate the game. Join the beta now and start mining before your rivals do.
right. So just a little promo that I cut for Sport Nuggets. It's a very helpful site. Sign up for a free beta preview now. Hit 70 likes, and I'm going to put my favorite picks in that in the insights that I just showed you how to get to. So let's get into this breakdown. Hit the hype button too, guys. That helps out big time too. And I'm trying to really get signups on my site. I think it's gonna be huge for helping all of us, because it takes basically my process with coming up with some of these sneakier plays that you guys see me talking about or writing about in Dante and Wicks. He was only 6% owned in that main slate contest yesterday, so just a massive edge there. It's hard to find on a 3-game slate. Jalen Hurts, he's kind of teed up today to have a decent game. The offense has been very vanilla in Philly, and their passing game is their running game is non-existent, and their pass game sucks. I said these concerns at the beginning of the season with hiring internally for that offensive coordinator spot. I liked Kellen Moore a lot when they hired him the Super Bowl year, and Vic Fangio. And I was very excited about those coordinators when they hired them. It basically saved Sirianni's job and got them to the Super Bowl and a win in the Super Bowl. Now, with only Fangio, the defense is still on fire, but they hired internally when Kellen Moore got hired by the Saints to be the head coach. So they hired internally for offensive coordinator, and you're seeing the results. It's been terrible for the Eagles. Sirianni might get fired after this season. He was on a thin leash when right before he won the Super Bowl, the season before he won the Super Bowl. I was shocked that he didn't get fired that season before, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sirianni's job is on the line before the end of the season. Not fired by the end of the season. I think by the end of the season there will be a lot of talk about it. Let's see. Let's go with Caleb Williams. Now, as far as that Jalen Hurts lineup matchup, Chicago's been very weak against quarterbacks, giving up 24.2 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. My concern here is that Chicago won't be competitive against the Eagles. The defense of the Eagles is going to be pissed. They lost an easy win against the Cowboys last week. They had a 21-0 lead or something like that, and they blew it. And I don't think that they're going to be very happy coming into this game against a Chicago team where Caleb Williams is vulnerable to pressure and he's got a high inaccurate throw rate. I would expect to see a decent amount of turnovers. He hasn't gotten many turnovers, but with his inaccurate targets. I would imagine he's going to get under a lot of pressure, a lot of sacks, potentially playing in Philly, where the Eagles are just not happy, and their most effective part of that team is their defense. But Williams already in a bad matchup where the Eagles are only giving up 19.4 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. So not a big fan of Williams today. Saquon Barkley. In a middling matchup, the Bears are giving up 21.2 DraftKings points a game to the running back position, but they have been vulnerable against the running back, and that could set up Saquon Barkley. But Barkley's been pretty bad against some easier defenses. Let's see. Tampa Bay's defense is kind of weak. He had only 17 points against them. I mean, that's still good for Showdown. Only 8.7 against the Giants, only 5.2 against Philly. Detroit, he had 10 points against. They got a pretty good defense. So does Green Bay. But 36 points against that second matchup against the Giants. That's his biggest game of the year. I think Barkley will be in play this week, but it's kind of hard to get excited about Barkley. A.J. Brown against man coverage is where he thrives, and this is a team doing let's see, top 7 in man coverage. They also allowing about 0.8 fantasy points per game to the versus man coverage is A.J. Brown. So, that's pretty significant there. I think that's the highest on the team, and I think that the second highest is like half of that, and that's Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith. So let's take a look. Let me try and find that exact number. All right, so A.J. Brown versus man coverage, 0.82 fantasy points per route run. Devontae Smith is 0.29. He's the second. So it gives you an idea of what how effective those guys are. But Devontae Smith's snap count target rate is not too bad versus man coverage is 24%. A.J. Brown is 34% versus man coverage. So, it gives you an idea of how they lean on A.J. Brown versus man coverage. Question is how effective are they going to be with their terrible play calling? But A.J. Brown is teed up today. Odunze has been terrible recently. He kind of fell off a cliff. He got off to a hot start. Eagles are already bad, or a bad matchup for them, only giving up 17.6 to the wideouts. Odunze does run a decent amount in the slot, though. That's where the Eagles are a little weaker. They've been getting up 11.9 DraftKings points a game. But either way, Quinion Mitchell is going to probably be the guy on Rome Odunze this week. So, don't be surprised to see him have another bad game in this one. It's all going to be about like trying to pinpoint the slot. I'm going to dig into that a little bit more because him and DJ Moore were running about the same out of the slot last time I looked. So I'm going to have to update with an insight on sportnuggets.com a little bit later on. Let's see. So recent performances. Last time he had a decent game was week 10. He has had a couple 20-point weeks recently, but he got off to a hot start. You can see through week 4. Then they had their bye. He did the opposite of what most players do out of the bye. He just came out super cold, and he's been terrible. Devontae Smith has had a great year. He had that 1.8 week against Detroit. That was another man coverage defense. But otherwise, he's been pretty good. Week 5 on, looks like he caught on a little bit. Maybe he's the favored guy with this offensive coordinator. Maybe he likes scheming passes to Devontae Smith a little bit more than A.J. Brown. But Devontae Smith still 24% snap target rate versus man coverage. DJ Moore, the other guy, like I'd be looking at. He's had a couple big games recently where we've seen the struggles of Rome Odunze, 23 points and 23 points in weeks 9 and 12. He got off to a really slow start, but maybe he's picking up a little bit. Maybe he's the guy that we can target for Chicago today. And if we see the ownership on him, then we can pivot to Odunze. Now, Eagles have been vulnerable to running backs. They've given up 25 DraftKings points a game recently to the running back position. Swift is going to be in play there. Swift revenge game against the Eagles. He was on the team a couple years ago before he got traded to Chicago. He's been up and down, but he's had some decent weeks, and he could have a decent week here. He left the team before Fangio was the coordinator there, so he's not as familiar with the defense. So we skip through these. Quarterbacks, Monangai, same situation. Going to want to take a look at the snap counts for Monangai versus Swift. So let's go over here to Fantasy Pros, sort by running back. You guys know how much they'd love it when they automatically log me out on this site. Let me just log back on real quick. I had it all set up too. guys, back over here. Running back, we're sorting by team. Looking at Chicago, we got 45% for Swift last week and 54% for Monangai. Did they win that game? I wonder what the game flow was like there. I'll check it in a minute. But we're looking at weeks before that. We had 57 and 37, maybe 62, 38. I don't know if Monangai's kind of taken over, but it's been relatively tight split. We know Ben Johnson had, what's his face, Montgomery and Gibbs splitting in Detroit. So maybe, that's the type of setup he's going for here. But Monangai's been pretty effective. He scored touchdowns in 3 straight. Biggest week was that 25-point week. I think that might be the week that Swift was out. Last week was a tight game, and Monangai led in snap counts. So Monangai seems like he is becoming a valuable in the run game asset and potentially the guy that we want to target against that Philly run D. Goddard's the guy who I think benefits the most from those linebackers being out. Got off to this season with a hot start. He hasn't scored a touchdown in a while, but he was scoring in like every game. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple out of him this week. So Dallas Goedert, I really like Dallas Goedert this week. He's a pretty cheap price considering the matchup that he has this week. Let's see what the Bears are giving up to tight end. They're only giving up 14.2. That's a middling matchup, but still, Goddard, I think he's going to be an active player today. We got Jake Elliott. He's in play. Check the wind in Philly, but they go for it a lot on fourth. He's only had a couple weeks over double-digit points, so I might be more inclined to go with Santos. Santos has had a bunch of double-digit weeks. You know that they're going to stall out Chicago if they're able to get the ball moving. But, maybe for an underdog video, he'd be a 2 field goal guy. We got Colston Loveland. Not a fan of the tight end matchups here. Philly is only giving up 7.5 to the tight end position. By the way, Philly's only given up 8.2 to the slot. So that's stuff that I was saying earlier about, the slot having the better matchup. I don't know what I was looking at there, but no, he does not have the better matchup. The better matchup is for wideouts. So, maybe we pivot to thinking the opposite there. 8.2 slot points per game. I think I was looking at the Philly matchup where Chicago is giving up 11.9 DraftKings points a game to the slot. So that's Devontae Smith on top of already getting like a 24% target share versus man coverage. So that's a good spot for Devontae Smith, even though a lot of people are going to be on A.J. Brown with that matchup. But Chicago's only given up 17.6 DraftKings points a game to the wideouts. So A.J. Brown doesn't have the best matchup, but he gets targeted a lot versus man coverage. Smith, though, if we see the ownership going to A.J. Brown because everybody talking up man coverage, like we can pivot to Smith here. But I do like Goddard, too, as a cheaper option at captain. So Dunze or Moore would be more in play versus the secondary. They did improve the secondary recently in Philly. They picked up Jalen Phillips. Let's see. Go back over to here. They picked up I think they picked up a Jalen Phillips. Oh, he's been a linebacker, but he's been really good against the pass, rushing the passer. He's put a ton of pressures already since he's gotten there. But as far as the secondary, I'm trying to think. If Adoree Jackson is still out there and Keely Ringo, the thinking was when they brought in, I can't remember who they brought in, but the thinking was, who they bring in? They brought in a nickelback, Michael Carter. When they brought in Michael Carter, the thinking was that Cooper DeJean might move outside, but no, he stayed in the nickel. So yeah, that the wideouts are the ones who do good against Philly. Sorry, guys. I'm just kind of remembering all this stuff as I'm talking through it. The Michael Carter, I think they had him going outside, and Adoree Jackson was hurt last week or something. Like Michael Carter was going more outside, but like Adoree Jackson kind of, he sucks anyways. And Keely Ringo hasn't been good. So, whoever's going against that left cornerback is the one that's going to have that matchup. And that was the Rome Odunze has 35% of his routes in the right side. So Odunze is the one I think who's going to benefit the most from that matchup. But keep an eye on insights. I'm gonna do a little bit more digging to get that information straight. I'm gonna take a drink real quick. All right, guys. Reminder, sign up for those sportnuggets.com free beta preview. Tight end does not have a good matchup. I don't know. I got on that tangent. Tight end does not have a good matchup against Philly. Eagles D solidly in play this week. They're gonna be playing angry today. Philly D, good play. I mean, with the way that this offense has been terrible, Philly D could be in play for the captain this week. Luther Burden, I do like Burden. He's probably got a decent amount against that that weakened cornerback position. I'll get some intel on him for my insights and add it in there. Bears D, not really interested there. But the offense has been kind of weak, but Bears D was better in the beginning of the season. I think they were like running hot on turnovers. I don't know if they've done it recently. Let's see, we got 2 interceptions a couple weeks ago and then 1. And then, this has been pretty good recently. But just not putting up the fantasy points. And, Philly's either going to melt down in this one or they're going to come out focused and have a huge passing game or passing day or something like that. But their defense is going to be on fire, I think. Dotson, not really interested in anyone outside of the core 3 for receivers, and that would be obviously Brown, Smith, and Goddard. Zacchaeus has not been getting many targets. There was a stretch there where he was getting a decent amount of targets. I can't remember if like DJ Brown was hurt or DJ Moore was hurt there. I think that might have been where he pulled his groin or whatever, and maybe he was limited. But he hasn't done much recently, and DJ Moore has been a lot better recently. Cole Kmet, not interested there. Bigsby, if we think this game is going to blow out a bit, then Bigsby could see some attempts. And Barkley has not been effective. We could see the unthinkable and Tank Bigsby get a decent amount of carries in this one against that Chicago defense, which I think in the beginning of the season was a lot weaker than it is right now. So Tank Bigsby, he'll be in play in Showdown. Will Shipley, not really interested. He's kind of been Wally pipped by Bigsby there. Calcaterra, not interested there. AJ Dillon, not interested. Smythe, trying to find a cheap seat guy for us, a dumpster dive that we can maybe use. Do not see any. So hit that like button. Give me the 70 likes so we can put out my favorite plays before the game starts. I'll put those in insights. You know what? I'm going to add insights anyways. Just sign up over there on insights and you're going to see all the picks. I'm not going to BS you, but hit that like anyways, hit that subscribe. And I'll put some extra ones in there for you. Let's see. Jalen Hurts for my captain. Sorry guys, I got to share the screen. There wasn't any dumpster dives. The guys that I showed at the end there, Burden, I have some interest in running primarily out wide. If he gets that matchup against Adoree Jackson or Ringo, we could see some decent performance out of Burden today, especially the way that Dunze's been struggling. Not interested in anyone outside of the big three in Philly that I talked about, and then really like Tank Bigsby's the only guy in this price range that I'm kind of interested in. If we think it's going to be a blowout script, so let's build for that blowout script. Let's start with AJ Brown and the captain. I'm going to go Hurts. I'm going to throw in Goddard too. I think Goddard could get us some touchdowns today. On the Chicago side, let's go with DJ Moore in this one. He's been kind of the hot hand, and let's go with Bigsby in this one. It's going to leave us with 8,800. And Devontae Smith, I don't know if I want to go 5-1 build, but you could go Devontae Smith here, and maybe they come out hot with the pass game, and then they just turn to Bigsby at the end of the game. I could totally see that happening. Or we could you could swap out Hurts for Brown here. Let's go Hurts, Brown, and that's going to leave us with 7,800. We can get Swift in there, who I don't mind in this script if they're doing dump offs to him, or we could go with one of these kickers. Eagles D actually would be a good one. Let's get the Eagles D in there, and let's take out. Who did I put in there? That's going to leave us with 3,800. I don't mind leaving salary on the table with the Hurts build, because he's going to be super high owned. You're going to need to get different there, and that's a way you can get different. If we wanted to take out Bigsby, we could put in like Elliott. I don't want to. I kind of want to go 5-1, but if we wanted to, we could put in Monangai there. But I kind of like that Bigsby blowout one and leaving salary on the table. All right, let's clear this out. Let's go with Goddard. Let's say it's a little bit more competitive. Let's go with Goddard in the captain. Maybe he's getting a couple touchdowns. We got Goddard in the captain. We got Hurts. That'll give us some salary relief too, by the way. Let's say that Williams does okay in this one. Let's get Williams in there. And I'm going to go with Brown. We'll try him out first. And let's go with Moore. Leaves us with 2,200. I don't hate Bigsby in this build, but I don't like it that much. Let's get Moore out of there. Let's go with Luther Burden in this one. We need some salary relief. Going to go with Luther Burden. It's going to leave us with 6,400. We could get Monangai in there if we wanted to. One of the kickers, something like that. I think the Santos. I think the Bears are more likely to get stalled out than the Eagles playing in Philly. So I'd go Santos over what's his face, Elliott. If we wanted to, like swap out for, like maybe we go with Barkley in this one. We got Hurts, Barkley, Goddard, Brown, Luther Burden. And then we can put Swift in this one if we wanted to. I mean, that's a pretty good build, and we got Monangai as an option too. I like this build, and we get Barkley, Hurts, a couple good floor guys. We got Brown, we got Goddard. I mean, this lineup builds itself. This might be, like one of the winners. And Goddard is, like a pretty solid captain option for us with all those linebackers are out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this show up, guys. Sign up for sportnuggets.com. Get your account there so you can get those insights. And I'm gonna be doing those right now. I'm gonna get started on those right now because we got about 5 hours till the game starts, and I want to give you guys plenty of time to get those likes and get access to those Sport Nuggets. So go sign up sportnuggets.com and let's crush it on this game like we did yesterday with Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys hit. If you hit, let me know in the comments, because we were all over those picks all day yesterday, especially on the site. I saw a couple people chatting about the first place hit in Showdown yesterday. Like, hopefully you guys got on top of those picks. Got a decent viewership on the shows yesterday, so I'm thinking that some of you guys, one of you guys, might have been up there, sharing that first place with me if you read the Nuggets yesterday. So hit me up in the comments, and I'll see you guys later on. I'm going to try to put out an underdog video, but it's going to be a little rough with the current setup.